Hey guys, so this has been a hard week for so many of us. There's a lot of healing going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in our country that shows kind of an opening of some wounds or things people are going through that are being exposed and let out, things that are not so pretty and things that we wished we didn't know existed are out there. So it's been a hard week. I'm also noticing some things online within our own group of people that is kind of hard to see. And the thing about the politics is that it can create kind of factions. But what I did see is people, for example, saying tarot readers who predicted Hillary to win, and I was one of the Lenormand readers who predicted her to win, so we can be off. And what they said was that they let their emotions dictate the cards, and shame on you for doing that. And I just want to speak to this because this shaming of people for using an oracle in the way that is naturally designed to be used is really hard to watch. The tarot, for those who use it, we understand that it is a mirror that reflects back our souls, our emotional life, and that's how it works. So when someone is sitting at a table with us and we're doing a reading, there is kind of a reflection on that person and how they're feeling inside. It kind of rips open the unseen and lets you see what they're feeling. And that's how that oracle functions, and that's what makes it so successful and so beautiful. I've done Lenormand readings on people where they say, yeah, well, that's exactly what's going on, but I already know that. And then I think, you need tarot. And when I take the tarot, it's the same story, but the emotional side of it, and people are reduced to tears at times because they connect so deeply with it. So I just want to say to people that, nobody's deliberately looking for cards that match their emotions to create some kind of a scam. We're trying to understand things, and they're trying to read the cards as best they can, but tarot is meant to be a reflection of how we feel, and that's okay. It's not okay to chastise people for using oracle in the way that it is meant to be used, the correct way, which makes it so hard for tarot to do predictions often because it is so emotionally kind of wrapped around us. That's what makes it successful. So I just want to make sure that first to say that. And then what I would like to do is speak to Lenormand here, because I did some Lenormand readings, and the Lenormand actually predicted Hillary to be the winner as well. And I want to speak to this because I learned a lot through this situation. It affected how I see readings, and it affected how I see the future, actually, how I understand the future to be. And I want to share with you my experience because this may affect perhaps your understanding or help you understand, and I'd like to hear other people's experience as well. So Lenormand is better at telling situations that are not so emotionally biased toward the reader. So that's why I like it for predictions, because it can kind of get me to a place that's outside of myself, where tarot gets me into myself, and it really helps me understand my feelings, other people's feelings. But Lenormand is more like, it's more objective, like seeing from above and just giving it like it is. And I feel that when I do Lenormand, I can actually, there are times when it slaps me and says, like, no, that's not the way it's happening. You might be feeling that, and tarot will tell me what I'm feeling. Lenormand will tell me, no, this is what's really going on. And the accuracy of this oracle is so profound. I can't even begin to tell you the thousands of readings that I've done that have been fantastic. I'm sure many of you have been through this. That's the motivation of this. And just to remember that sometimes it tells us weird things what we could not have known, that it adds to the reading. And I'll just give one example. It was one I did this summer on somebody who texted me from her vet and says, I'm here, is my dog's surgery going to be okay? And I didn't know her, but the cards said that something in the surgery would be missed, so they may have to go back in and just check out something would be missed. And it turns out, so that was Monday when she texted me. Thursday, that was after the reading, she did text me and says, guess what, we've got to go back in. There's some kind of discharge from the wound. They think something might have fallen in during surgery, or they might have missed something, and they went back in. So there was no way I could have known that. And it didn't just say the surgery would go well or not. There's stuff that comes out. So there's no question that there's valuable information in there that we have for people and for ourselves. But also know that nothing is 100%, especially when we're relying on the future. And here's what I learned about the future in this situation. So the future, as we all know, if you believe in free will, and which I do, we can make decisions that affect our future. Some things are bigger than us. So there are sometimes so many things coming into play that we can't affect the outcome as much as we wish we could. And I believe that readings give us potential future this way and the way it's likely to go. And then I also believe that there can be shifts in potentials. Now I've learned that we can measure that too through the oracles. So when people come to us, you'll learn as I tell you the story, and you know how sometimes clients will ask the same question over, will he come back, will he come back, will he come back? You know, and sometimes we think people are just being OCD about a question, and we've done that sometimes with our own readings and cards, is just keep asking that big question over and over for comfort. And what I've learned is there can be shifts in what was originally the outcome. So let me tell you the story of what happened to me. Many of you saw my Grand Tableau about Hillary Clinton, and it talked about what would happen, that she would likely get in. She was closest to the House in the Grand Tableau. Interestingly, both her horizontal line and Donald Trump's vertical line intersected at the path parting of ways. But it also suggested to me, as it showed there, not the intersecting line, but just the actual vertical, and then only her horizontal, that something would end for either of them. And I was concerned that would mean that if Hillary got in, that there would be a departure for her from the presidency. Also, I read it as a departure for something that he did too, and it could be this presidency. The only thing that would change, I think, when you go back and look at a Lenormand, it's not as malleable as sometimes tarot can be. Oh, I wish I saw this, or I wish I saw that. Sometimes you see added layers of things that you miss, but the yes-no things are very blunt. It's really hard to get those wrong because they're so vivid and so clear. So if I look back on that, I still see that Hillary had very positive cards around her. She was close to the White House, and Donald was very far from it, and he had more negatively flavored cards around him. So it's hard to go back and say to make that change. What was unique about that particular Grand Tableau is it was different than most in that when I read it, usually when you have a client sitting in front of you, say it's a woman, the woman card becomes her significator, and that becomes your present. So you can see under the woman is where the now is the present, and anything behind her is the past, anything in front of her is the future. So you get your time frame settled for you. What I did is I had 3 significators. So there was Hillary was the woman, Donald was the man, and the house was the White House. So I had 3 significators. So instantly there was a problem because I didn't have an instant time frame. So what I used for reference is Hillary was 1 row behind the house, and the election was 1 month away. So I was reading that I had to be her getting in about 1 month. And I do believe, looking back in that spread, that it was talking about the potentials for that time, because I think we're reading potentials that she was favored to win, and seen as Oracle as favored to win. And I'd been getting this for at least since each of the candidates said that they announced their nominee, that they wanted to nominate themselves to become part of this election process that would go through. Now, here's what else happened. Okay, so first of all, I didn't have a good time frame, so I had to depend on that. I think without having the time frame available to me, looking back on it, I would say, you know what, maybe what was happening too is there was no time frame, and I was looking at just the situation and where the lines intersected, where they both departed. The only other way I could probably read that is if either one of them got in, they would end up departing the presidency. And it's possible, and here's the thing, I always tell people to respect the question, to pay really, really close attention to your question. And my question had specifically to do with the White House, getting in the White House. So that has not actually happened yet, and I have to remember this and be patient, because January 20th is Inauguration Day, and we have a period of time now that's over a month that has to process, and things can happen. He has a lawsuit, there's the electoral vote, and while many of these things may not have any bearing on his actually getting in the White House, I don't want to go back and judge the reading until I'm sure my question has been complete. So the Aries in me and the fire in me has to kind of be still, because I have to wait and make sure that my question time period has completed so that somebody is in the White House. So there's a rare possibility she might still get in there, and I have to respect that the cards have been honest to me. you know, till now, so that may still be processing, or like Rana George said, the stew is still in the pot, so it may still be brewing. So I just have to kind of hold on to that and just watch. There's no other option I have but just to watch. But at the same time, I want to always look at what I've done. So I want to tell you this interesting situation. About a week before elections, this was Halloween weekend, actually. So I was one of 3 presenters in a Lenormand immersion weekend with some folks in Pennsylvania at the Northeastern Tarot Conclave. And at this weekend, Rana George, one of her activities was having people explore Grand Tableaus and relationships between people. So at one point we had a whole bunch of Grand Tableaus going at the same time. And everybody was asking about the election because it was a great way to predict something and to see what's going on. And I saw 4 of these Grand Tableaus, and all of them, everyone said Trump would win. Rana saw 3 extras because one table didn't like what they saw, so they kept shuffling and putting it back out to see if they were reading it wrong, and every time it said Donald Trump would win. So I did have people call me over to their table and say, could you just look at this? Are we reading this correctly? And when you look at it, like I said, it's a yes or a no. So when I looked at them, I'm thinking, you are absolutely reading that correctly. That says he's going to win. And so I pulled Rana aside, and I'm like, what is happening? How can that be? Because it was clear to me that she was the winner in mine. And Rana said, first of all, there's a lot of people in the room, there's a lot of energy, and that can influence the readings. But the bottom line is, she says, something is shifting. There's a shift going on. So I watched all these, and I was reading, with fascination what they said. And Monday when I got home, I put 3 cards down. So I want to show you what those 3 cards are, because these are hugely significant, and I felt like I was in shock when I got home and read them. Monday during my lunch break, I pulled out a deck, this little deck here. These are exactly the deck and the cards that I used, and the 3 cards I got were Moon, Fox, and Key. And you'll notice I actually used this for one of my readings that week. And I was doing this reading during my lunch break, and one of my coworkers walked in and said, "What is wrong?" And she says, "You look like you just saw a ghost." And I'm like, there's been a huge shift. Something is really wrong. And she didn't know what to think. And she said, "Oh my God, the election?" I said, "I think so. I can't even deal with this." And I took the cards and I folded them up. What I see in these cards is someone who has a reputation. The moon is about reputation. So someone with a reputation for being a liar, a con man, manipulator. Something is being manipulated by this person. And this holds the key. When you see the key card at the end, it's always a yes. So this meant to me the manipulated one, the liar, is going to be the favored one. He wins the key. He unlocked it. So something was going on that week that influenced the election, and there was a change. So as I saw this reading and felt sick, actually, the shift that Rana had mentioned was actively happening, and I could not even deal with it. And I also was trying to understand it myself, because I don't pretend to be some kind of God that understands everything about the future. I'm still figuring it out too, but I do know there is a consistency with the cards that happens with events, and I saw this consistency reflect what was happening in the world. The leader of the FBI mentioned there were more released emails, which we later found out to be nothing, but by then it was probably too late. There was all kinds of things going on, and the Fox card, interestingly, in so many people's readings during that Lenormand immersion weekend, the Fox card represented Donald Trump, which was interesting because they're a manipulator. So anyway, that was the shift that one week, and my cards didn't turn back since, and I didn't know what to make of it, because I didn't know that the future could be shifted by that big of an event. I figured little things in my life, I can make free will changes, but it didn't dawn on me that somebody could manipulate a system to affect such a global scale the outcome of something like this. And clearly there was a shift, and the polls reflected that. There was a lot of things. You could see this shifting of the seesaw from one side to the other, and we all felt that shift, and we were shocked. I mean, there was a huge shock when we learned that he had been elected by those swing states. So that was my understanding of what happened, and I did see consistently in my readings afterward, but didn't know what to make of it. Like, I was wondering if it was feeding off my fears. Maybe I was wrong in terms of how it reflected off of my emotions. But no, I see consistently that the Lenormand is not so emotionally attached to the reader like the tarot. Tarot has those really strong chords, and it really bonds to your soul and feels you from the inside out. And Lenormand is like looking from above and watching that chess game. So that was my experience, and that really did shape my understanding of the future and how there are these potentials. We were reading potentials at one point, and I really felt I was reading an accurate potential of what would happen if Hillary got in. That was how it would be, and Donald would fight it, and he would have said it was rigged and whatever, and we had amazing things that her emails, there would have been more emails and more stuff out. And Donald would have gone on to do some of his own projects afterward, that there would not be a following of him, that he would continue to have projects. Then that potential shifted, and we saw the other paradigm and the other potential. And this really taught me a lot about the future. And it will also help me respect clients when they come to me as they get closer to an event and ask questions about it now, will I still this, will I still that? I'm going to respect that potentials can change at the shift of a dime, and that I want to respect that the future is very, very malleable. I always hoped that Lenormand was above that, and he would see these little shifts coming, that could happen. But sometimes there were just things that create these paradigm shifts. So I'm waiting for January 20th to see who actually physically gets in the White House before I close out this reading and assume that it's one way or another, because that was my question, and I'd like to read back on it. The other thing I was wondering is, what if neither one of them got in, and that was the shifting of that path, the departure for both of them, and maybe it would be replaced by Pence or whatever it is. Who would have thought that neither one of them might get in there? So he may still get in there. We don't know. That's just waiting for that rose to unfold. And just to understand that there is no such thing as an oracle or a reader that is 100% accurate. There is no such thing. Now, the statistics are in our favor. If you watch how successful your readings can be, those numbers are phenomenal. And I'm always shocked when I disagree with what I feel might happen and the cards say something else might happen. I've learned to go with the cards because usually it nails it. But just remember, there are huge things that can potentially shift. So most of your reading should be extremely accurate and done well. But just know that there's nothing that's 100%. I have also found that this works very poorly for things like gambling or numbers. We took it to roulette just to experiment, and we did not find it successful with that, because I think that's just too random, that there's not a clear potential, because it's just a random grid. It could land anywhere. Whereas with human lives, I think there are clear potentials and paths, that we are kind of in the direction to head down a certain road. So that's it. Just wanted to share that with you guys. And I want to thank Diane for doing the Lenormand weekend, because that really helped open clarity for me for how Lenormand can see the future and the shifts, and then follow the shifts accurately as they happen. No, it's not a fixed future, and we all, I think can follow the shifts and go around the bend and then see what happens. So I just want to leave a couple of things as a kind of a final follow-up. And the lessons I've learned is, I just want people to know, don't attack your fellow readers. We're all in this together. We all share the same passion. We have enough dissonance from the rest of the world on what cards do and what they are. We don't need to get that from each other. Be proud of your connection with the cards and whatever it means to you, and however you use them or choose not to use them. That's yours to own, and we shouldn't be shaming others. But by the same token, we shouldn't shame ourselves. Like, don't chastise yourself if you get something off. Just take note of how often you get it right, and use your readings to go back and see if you missed anything. I'll be doing that with my spread once the White House happens, just to see if there's anything I see in there that I might have missed. You can still be imperfect and still be amazing. We are all human, and that's okay. Also, I've seen a lot of people say they wanted to throw their cards away or stop reading. Please don't dispose of your oracles or your love for it because of one misfire. It felt like a big one because it was such a world event, but it had those sudden shifts, and this is one that nobody saw coming. Not the polls, not the children who voted in schools who were never wrong, different countries who were never wrong. Some of the best readers in the world misfired on this one, and I think there's a real reason why that happened. I think there was a shift in a manipulation that happened, a true manipulation that caused this to happen and totally shift gears. So, but nobody can read with 100% accuracy. So it's a great taste of humble pie for everybody to say, you know what, the tilt that can shift. Follow your track record and don't throw away thousands of good readings for one that went off a little bit to the side. And do expect from tarot mirrors of emotion, and it's supposed to be that way, and do expect closer accuracy toward the end of an event, you know, just when you have the right oracle. See, and I do think that if I tried to read tarot on that last night, it would have been feeding off of my emotions, and it would have said what I wanted. Lenormand tends to give me more of that slap. I was terrified, to be honest, to read my cards that night because of what I saw during that week before, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was too, I didn't want to see what I didn't want to see, and I didn't want to get depressed over it. But use each oracle as it's designed to be used, and know that it's okay to know that future shifts and pivots. Be uniquely you when you're reading them. Don't let anyone else tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing. And also, I learned that there's more than just one future. So you're seeing potentials. It's like a law of averages, and those can shift. And if free will exists, changes will happen. And we have clients that come to us that'll say, like, how can I make a situation change? We'll see that it's rigid, it doesn't want to, and we keep trying. And sometimes we can make little shifts. I have watched that happen. And we watched trying certain behaviors to undo things. Sometimes it recommends things I don't want to do, sometimes because of my pride or other reasons, and it just keeps going the same way. But because we always have the free will to either follow readings advice or not, and we all know that. We all know our clients can or cannot choose to do it or not to do it. But most of all, I learned that the future can be shifted in 10 seconds, even big things. So I also learned we can measure those shifts. Respect our clients when they come back and ask for multiple readings, because there will be times if you get closer to something, maybe something can shift. So that's it for now, and I would like to review this all on January 20th after Inauguration Day. We still have stuff that can unfold. Trump has a lawsuit coming up. There's electoral votes. There's all kinds of stuff. So let's revisit this, and I just want to send everybody a lot of love in a time when the world needs great healing and compassion, and I don't think anybody's feelings should be brushed under the carpet. I think this is hard for many people to watch this new kind of, if it doesn't feel like the usual type democracy for people that feels that there's a lot of like anger floating around. Let's not feed off the anger. Let's see if we can spread something a little better out there and make the world a better place.